1, and it is a massive non-conference showdown for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They will be playing in Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs, against Cincinnati from the Big 12. Now, we saw last year a good step forward in the Matt Rule era. And for Dylan Raiola, there were some ups, there were some downs. Danny, we got a chance to speak with Dylan at Big Ten Media Days, and we've certainly had our eyes on the Cornhuskers as they go into a year when we typically see Matt Rule's programs take a big jump. So as you look at this first matchup against Cincinnati, what are some of the things you're looking for on the Nebraska side of things?
Well, I want to see what this offense looks like with Dana Holgorsen now. And I do appreciate the fact that Matt Rule last year just ripped the Band-Aid off. Could tell it wasn't working. Dylan Raiola was really struggling in the back end of the season. And I think one of the advantages of making that move was you got to have some sort of in-game feel with Dana Holgorsen and Dylan Raiola, working together. And it was interesting when we talked to him, he told us, hey, it was kind of weird. I had to learn new plays, new concepts during the season, which is pretty rare, but at least you got that out of the way. And so now you're more familiar with each other. You've had an entire offseason. They've spent a lot of time together getting familiar with Dana Holgorsen and his ability to be an offensive game planner. I think this is one of the more significant coordinator moves that we've seen across the country, pairing these two together. And I would expect Dylan Raiola to take that big step forward. I mean, last year he started off so strong, and then the back end of the season really started to struggle, in large part because the offensive line struggled as well, but they've gone out, tried to address that. They go get Rocco Spindler in the portal, try to upgrade the position there, a couple portal guys in the offensive line. They realized the importance of giving him better protection, because that was really when he struggled, was when the protection broke down, started to make worse decisions with the football. But I think they'll do a better job protecting him, and I think Dana Holgorsen will do a better job scheming up some plays for him.
Danny, totally agree. I think Nebraska's offense is going to be way improved this year. You get Raiola year two. You go out and make some major additions there in the transfer portal, including receiver Dane Key. I think the offensive line should probably take a pretty good step up. Again, I think this is the most improved coordinator position in the entire country. I thought their old OC was really not befitting a power conference program, and Holgorsen can really call some ball plays. So you get a quarterback with sky high potential. You get some receivers who can really run. Finally, Barney's a pretty good player. We know Key has some serious juice. If the offensive line can take that step, I think Nebraska is going to score on pretty much everybody in the country. Defensively, I do have some questions here. I think it's fair to question. You lose coordinator Tony White, who's very accomplished, to a Florida State team that went 2-10. So what happened there? Not totally sure. But my guess here is if you're a guy who's going to be in line for a head coaching job, you stick around, keep doing a good job. You don't leave for a 2-10 Florida State team unless you realize some of the players Nebraska lost on defense were actually pretty important. So for me, major questions on the defensive line for Nebraska. Some more confidence there, I think, in the back seven. We'll have to see how it shapes up. If they can maybe hide those deficiencies, if they in fact are deficiencies.
So offensively for Cincinnati, Brendan Sorsby's a very, very good player. They got a couple good running backs. I think we might have a pretty decent ground game, but for a Nebraska fan who might be listening or watching along right now, but what should they expect from Cincinnati in terms of ways that the Bearcats might be able to have some success in this game?
That classic Scott Satterfield zone running game like he had dating back to his days at App State. I think the receiver room here has been totally rebuilt, and maybe in a positive way, so that Jeff Caldwell, an FCS transfer they got, can really, really fly. We'll see what Caleb Goody looks like. Cyrus Allen, who was banged up at Louisiana Tech. They lost their top 6 receivers from last year, but I do think there's a chance that maybe, just maybe, they don't have a drop-off there. Offensive line loses 4 of the top 5, but going to the transfer portal, they feel like they're okay there. I agree with you, Chip. I think Sorsby is a pretty good quarterback, especially for that league of the Big 12. And this might be new versus new. Who can get it together sooner in this game that decides it? That is the Cincinnati offensive line against that rebuilt Nebraska defensive line.
I do think there's room for improvement, though, for Sorsby. I mean, his numbers are pretty good, struggles somewhat with interception bug against some of the better opponents, similar to what we were talking about with Dylan Raiola. When he gets pressured, maybe he's a tendency to cough the ball up or give it to the other team. You mentioned the receivers, not just the starters. They added 5 new guys through the portal to try to give him some options there at receiver. So I do think he can take another step forward as a quarterback if Cincinnati wants to get to a bowl game or higher this season. But this is a big test for them early, playing out at Arrowhead. I love this matchup.
Snap call here. Who do you think ends up winning this game? Can Nebraska win as the favorite, DK?
I think they should, but I do think this is like a plucky opponent. That's kind of one of those ones. They've got nothing to lose. It could be their signature win of the season. There's massive pressure and expectations on Nebraska, on Dylan Raiola. Don't forget about the Godfather, Dante Corleone, a tough interior defensive lineman for Cincinnati that likes to talk big game. Cincinnati's going to come in and give it their best effort, but I do think Nebraska's got the better totality as a roster. I think they're a step ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and call for the upset here. I think Cincinnati has a shot to shock the world. If you recall, Cincinnati lost its top 3 defensive linemen very early in the season last year. And I thought they made a nice hire in Tyson Veit, luring him away from Iowa State last year. You didn't really get to see a lot of the improvement because if you lose your top 3 defensive linemen, you're pretty much just screwed. But those guys are back healthy now. I think Cincinnati's defense could take a nice step forward this year. I think Cincy can get the upset.
Listen, until Scott Satterfield gets a podcast, I've got to go for Matt Rule. Podcasters standing for podcasters. I think that he's going to be able to take care of business. Fascinated about the setting. You know, we've got Dylan Raiola in the home of Patrick Mahomes and everything that could be coming with that. Who's going to be there? Are there any celebrity super fans of the Kansas City Chiefs that are going to be there? I don't know. There's just so much going on, and it's a great way to get started. Again, Cincinnati, Nebraska, scheduled for a 9 p.m. Eastern time kickoff in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City.